Yeah, shoot, let's have it.
O- Okay. How do you love yourself better? Like loving your neighbor as yourself, like sometimes with harsh thoughts or not paying attention to your own needs or speaking negatively about yourself or not acting in your own best interest. Like, I'm curious
Yeah.
about where it comes from, but more importantly, like how do you move forward and get better at it?
Yeah, it's a really, 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 really good question. And it gets into so many different areas, Paula. I it's an area that we can have a lot of I think confusion about because there's so much out there in the pop psychology world. Let me give you an example. How many people, raise your hand as if I could see you. How many people have heard, well, you can't love somebody else until you love yourself? You know, everybody's heard that. Would somebody please show me where that came from and show me the empirical science behind that? Because here's everything we know about humans is that we come into, and this gets to the answer, Paula, of what you're wondering about. If you've noticed, when a human being comes into the world, they don't move in your house packing big bags of, where am I going to put all this love? I got, this house isn't big enough. I'm bringing a lot of love in here that I got to unpack. They don't come in like that. The way they come in is without anything. There is no love inside of them. So what do? They connect and they emotionally trust and they open up with their need for love and they say, wee, I need love. Translated in baby talk, I need love. I need love. I need love. Some milk and a dry diaper. That'd be cool too, but I really need love. And so what happens is mommy and daddy, the caretakers and whoever is taking care of this little one, they connect with them. And through a very, very, very incredible neurological, psychological, emotional, physiological, spiritual, incredible process, this immaterial thing called love that we can't see under a microscope or cut with a knife on a slide in a laboratory. This invisible thing called love gets internalized inside the child's head. Now, also what gets internalized? The voices that are speaking that love to them. And you'll see little bitty kids after they've been loved, and then they pick up their dolly, and what do? They're saying, "Oh, are you sad?" They're saying exactly the voices that have been given to them that they've internalized and now have been. It's like when you download a program on your computer, all of these voices of outside love are now internalized, and they carry them around with them. And then they start to kind of feel about themselves, which is to your question, they're loving themselves really pretty much in the way that they've been loved. Now, other people get other kinds of voices, right? And they don't respect their needs and they don't respond to their needs and they deny their feelings or they minimize their feelings or all of that. And so some people are walking around with some very unloving voices in their head that now have become them talking to themselves. So, Paula, I think what you're asking is, how do we reverse that? Would that be a good way of framing the question?
Yes.
Well, I want you to think about this. The way it worked in the beginning is exactly the same way it gets repaired. Now it's a little different because now you're an adult and you have the ability to think about your thinking. It's something called an observing ego. And so now I can get above my thinking. And the first thing, and I'm going to give you your list here. You said, how do we do this? All right. Number one is the scientists and the Bible say the same thing, that we have to observe our ways. So instead of just walking around thinking unloving thoughts towards yourself, we got to get above those thoughts and observe and ask this question: how well am I talking to myself? What are the thoughts that I'm saying to myself? Am I respecting my needs when they come up? Or do I talk myself out of them? Do I say to them, you shouldn't need that? Or no, that doesn't hurt? Or you should be ashamed of yourself. That's selfish. And get above those and start to listen to them. Okay. There's so much research on this that if you get above those thoughts and feelings of how you're feeling towards yourself, there's feelings, attitudes, and choices and behaviors, how we behave towards ourselves. And I want you to log those. You know, when people work, clinically on this, what they have patients do a lot of times is they start to record their automatic thoughts. They call them automatic thoughts in cognitive therapy because they just come. So we're going to stop just letting them come. Now we're going to become the boss of the thoughts that are bossing you. So a new manager's moved into town, right? This observing. And now, Paula, I'm going to name you. You are the sheriff. A new sheriff's moved into town and going to say, I'm not going to allow you bullies to talk to Paula like that. So that's the first step. Now, remember, Paula, I told you something. There's a neurological process behind this. And the neurological process is something called internalization, technically. Internalization. And there's another part of this in the thinking world. That's kind of the emotional side of it and the wiring side of it. In the thinking world, it's called assimilation and accommodation. So internalization means I want Paula to have, okay, Paula, what's the job I gave you? What's your new name?
Sheriff Paula.
Sheriff Paula. All right. Now, Sheriff Paula also has a city council that she's part of, right? And you meet with them and you guys talk about how it's going. And you look at how's Paula doing? And that city council is saying, Paula's awesome. Paula is incredible. Did you see what she did yesterday? Or when Paula falls down, they say, Paula, that's all right. Everybody makes mistakes. Come on, let's go learn from that. And they say, Paula, we noticed you got some abilities here that you're not really seeing how good you are. We put together a little fund here, Paula. We're going to send you to a class because we want you to get an extra certification here because we're going to put you in charge of something even bigger than you're doing now. We might make you head of the highway patrol. But the committee is giving you new voices. Now, when we were little, we didn't control which voices were on the committee, but as adults, we can choose who we're going to listen to. And through the process of hearing good people around you now that love you when you're broken, when you fail, when you're alone, when you're needy, when you're hurting, when you doubt yourself, those voices that come along, and the Bible's word for this is and encourage you. Notice the word encourage. Put courage into you. Self-love, people say you got to love yourself. You got to have courage. Well, if my tank's empty, it's going to be hard to get any gas out of an empty tank. Tell that car to have some self-gas. We got to be encouraged from the outside. So I want you to get new voices, be a sheriff, and shoot down those bad voices, right? So you're not allowed. I'll write you a ticket. Shut up. Go to jail. And start policing those and not allowing them. And then you start to say to yourself what God and good people say about you that's encouraging. Does that help?
Yes. So it's sort of that if something has been untrue, that's quite damaging. And so you're trying to move towards figuring out what is actually true and friendly, helpful.
Yeah, and I'm gonna parse that a little bit. It's what's true and not true, but probably as important, if not more important, is the attitude and the stance that whoever and now you take towards what is true or not true.
I
Okay.
see.
For example, I don't believe that we should, this is a whole nother program. We get to talk about the problems and the concept of self-esteem. Some people think the way out of this mess is, it's all things positive all the time about all of me. Well, that's not a secure self-concept. A secure self-concept is we look at ourselves realistically, and there's things I do, really well, and I have some strengths and abilities. I also have some things that I'm not doing so well that I need to know the truth about those as well. But the attitude that I need to look at, if something's true about me that I could do better or is not good, I need to know that for my own benefit. I need to know the truth. But is somebody saying it in a way that's critical, that's not loving, that puts me down, that despairs me? If that's a verb, makes me despairing. Does it encourage me to try to get better? You see what I'm saying? So it's not only the truth or untruth. We need to label untruth, throw that out. But even if something's true about me that's not positive, I need it done in a loving way.
I see. That does
Give
help
me an
me, and
example.
I appreciate.
Give me an example of what would be an untrue thing that you had to throw out. Paula, I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know if it's true that I'm a bad radio host if I take a sip of my soup while I'm on the air. I don't know what my team's going to tell me about that. But I didn't get to finish lunch. So while you're thinking, I'm going to have a bite of my soup. Okay.
Okay. So sorry, I'm having trouble thinking of one, but
It's okay.
maybe that it's not important. A certain renovation where I rent isn't important to the person who has the power to make that decision, and they minimize that, and I've suffered some health consequences. So I haven't stood up to it. So I think, well,
great.
I just deserve it this way, and I don't have any power over it. That's
great. Great example.
Maybe my health isn't all that important.
Great example. That is a great example. That's an example of where the sheriff has got to move into town. And let me tell you something about one of the ways that you can always pretty much know that you're on solid ground here is that if somebody is getting oppressed by power, that's injustice. And that's where the law is on your side. But you're right. It starts with you saying, you know what, this is not okay. It's not okay to treat anybody like this. And I am one anybody. And so you do whatever you got to do. You call the renters association or the sheriff, the real sheriff, or, whoever it is. But yes, that's a great example. You start to value what you would value in other people, because justice is justice, whether it's for ourselves or for somebody else. If you go to the Bible, there's a lot in there about making claims and pleas that you get justice for yourself and fighting for the justice of others. Justice is across the board. So yes, listen to that voice that says you do deserve to be treated right. You do deserve to be treated correctly, and stand up for that as Sheriff of Paula. Okay? Paula, I'd like to talk more, but we got to go. Does that help you? I hope somewhere.
Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for your call.